Connor McDavid, the comeback player of the year. I know, it sounds like a ridiculous statement, but give me a chance and let me explain. Are you ready for some amazing numbers? We're now officially on the home stretch to the NHL regular season. We hit the three-quarter mark of the year in Tuesday night's games. Just 6 weeks now to puck drop of the Stanley Cup playoffs. The league has compiled some interesting stats. Let me run them by you. The bottom line, offense and comebacks. Loads and loads of offense and some incredible turnarounds. For the fifth time in the last 6 years, games have averaged over 6 goals a game. Now here is that ridiculous statement that I'm talking about. Connor McDavid has been the comeback player of the year. I know what you're thinking. Did McDavid ever really go anywhere? Well, hear me out. Remember when McDavid got off to that brutal start by his standards? He had just 2 goals through the first month of the NHL regular season. On November the 20th, he wasn't even in the top 100 in NHL scoring. And now he's just 6 back with 3 games in hand on both Kucherov and McKinnon. Would anyone be the least bit surprised now if he came back to win the NHL scoring title? McDavid's got 32 points since the All-Star break, 11 more than McKinnon, and 12 more than Kucherov over the last month. All 3 of the Art Ross leading trio are on pace for over 130 points. We haven't seen that happen in 30 years. There are 10 players currently on a pace for 100 or more points this season. That's the most in 28 years. There are 5 defensemen, Hughes, Makar, Dobson, Yossi, and Bouchard, who are on pace for 80-point seasons. That's only ever happened once before in NHL history. That was in the 1992-93 season, and now all but one of them who did it that season is in the Hockey Hall of Fame. As for the Rocket, Austin Matthews' 53 goals are 8 better than anyone else in the league. No one else is even close. He's on a pace for 71. He would be the first U.S.-born player in NHL history to hit that mark. Speaking of comebacks, there's no single team that's experienced a bigger comeback than the Vancouver Canucks this year. The Canucks went from missing the playoffs entirely last season to currently second in the overall race for the President's Trophy. They're looking to become just the 3rd team since 1944 to finish first overall after missing the playoffs the previous season. The Flyers, Preds, and Wings, 3 other teams that also missed the playoffs last season, are also still on the hunt as we head down the stretch this season. And what about the battle at the top? The race for the President's Trophy is wide open. For the first time in 5 years, the top 5 teams in the fight for first overall are separated by 6 points or less at this point. No one has been officially eliminated just yet, but the gap between the haves and the have-nots is significantly wider than normal at this time of year. The Islanders in the East, the Kraken and the Blues in the West are the only teams that are currently out of the playoffs but still within 6 points of the wild card. That's not a good sign for teams currently on the outside looking in. Recent history tells us that teams that are further out at this point than 6 points won't make it to the postseason. No team has overcome more than a 6-point deficit in the final quarter of the season since 2019. Of course, there was the huge one exception because in 2019, the Blues overcame an 11-point deficit at this point. And not only did they make the playoffs, of course, they went on to win the Stanley Cup. And as we head down the stretch, how about some streaks to watch as we move into the final quarter of the NHL season? McKinnon has points in 30 straight home games from the start of the season. Gretzky holds the all-time NHL record at 40 games. Connor McDavid's on pace for 103 assists. Only 3 players have had 100 in a season: Gretzky, Lemieux, and Bobby Orr. Other notable accomplishments to tell you about: Zach Hyman became just the 11th player in NHL history to record his first 40-goal season at 31 or older. Sidney Crosby needs 19 points over his final 22 games of the season to lock up his 19th career point-per-game season, a feat only Wayne Gretzky has ever accomplished. Crosby is also just 25 points away from becoming the 10th highest scoring player in NHL history. So there you have it. We're officially 3/4 of the way into the NHL regular season. We're on the home stretch. So what accomplishments impressed you the most through the first 984 games played this year? And what are you most looking forward to as we head down the stretch? You've heard from me. Now it's time to hear from you.